For today's um, learning session, as you guys know, we'll be looking at the shell permissions. And I don't know if you guys had checked the video. There's a link that was shared on the group, and it was on shell permissions. It's some YouTube video. I don't know if you guys checked the video because it deals with the introductory part of the shell permissions. And basically, this meeting was aimed at covering the parts that were not covered on the video. So I
It's
don't know
okay.
if
It's
you guys,
okay.
it's okay. Okay. All right.
Oh,
So
sorry.
for
I
this,
wasn't talking to you, sir.
mhm. Okay. So for today's session, we'll be looking at a number of commands, the common commands we'll be using for shell permissions. And some of these commands, I think you guys can also, if you feel like there's something you can add or something we need to cover, you can all just feel free to raise those suggestions. So some of the commands we'll be checking include, and these are the common commands we use for shell permissions. So some of these commands uh, will be there's change mode. Also, let me just expand this so that it's visible. I don't know if you guys are able to see my screen. There's change ownership. Um, these are some of the commands we'll be checking in this session. We also have this sudo. We have groups. It's a number of commands we'll be checking. Add user. We have add group, which is related to add user. So these are the main ones. In case I missed anything or you feel like we should check a different command, it's okay. You know, it's an open platform. Okay, guys. Hello.
Yes, we can see your screen. You can continue. You can continue. We can see your screen.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. So for the first one, we'll start with change mode. And chmod, just from the name change mode, this is just used to change permissions of a file or directory. So let me just share my screen. Let me open my sandbox and show you how the usability of this command. So just a moment. Um, let me just so let's create a file here. Let's assume we have a file named mhm, let's say test file. So we've just created the file. This is our file test file. And now we want to break down the change mode command. And so using this file, the first thing we usually do, we have to check the properties of the file. We have to check the permissions. And so from checking the permission, we'll know the permission we are going to change and everything. And usually the command we use for checking the permissions or the properties of the file, it's ls, then flag long, then name of the file. In our case, it's test file. These are the properties of this file. And in the first group of characters, this is where we see, let me minimize this so you guys can check. Let me divide this screen just a moment. All right. So these are the properties of this file, our test file. These are the properties. And you can see on the left, these are the permissions for our file. We also have the common properties. This is the owner of this file. We also have the group owner of the file. We also have the date of when the file was created. So whenever we want to change the properties of this file, we have to take a look at this one. And usually um, this whole thing is divided into three parts. The first column, this one here, this is the first part, and this one shows the permissions of the file owner. Okay. Then the second part, these are the permissions of the group owner, and these are other users. So the hyphen, this one this one is just used to show if this is a file or directory. So hyphen denotes this is a file. So for instance, if I needed to check the properties of the files in this directory, let me give you um, so you can see we have D. So D denotes this as this is a directory, and you can see just by the color code we have a directory by the name PLD. Then the hyphen shows this is a file. So in our list we have two directories, DD, that is PLD and test one, and then we have hyphen hyphen. So after that, after the first character, that is D or hyphen. So the next one, this one shows the permissions for the file owner. Okay. And then the next three characters, these ones denote the permissions for the group owner, and this one are for the other users. So we created a file by the name test file. And we were checking the properties of the test file. And we realized that for this test file, the first part, this is the file owner. The file owner is able to write, no, is able to read, write, but unable to execute. So usually, let me use this artboard to demonstrate this. We have three levels. I don't know if I can call them levels or so for a group, for instance, if it's the file owner, we have a read. I'm sure you guys are aware of this. We have write um, and execute. These are the permissions for the groups. So when you want to check the permissions in a particular file, the first thing I usually recommend is just dividing them into three separate groups. So based on that, we can break down and see what really needs to be done with the file. So in our case, we have these are the permissions for our file. We have read, write, and then execution. This is for the owner of the file. Okay, let me expand this. The second part, this is the owner of the group. We have read, then we have dash dash. This is the group owner. Then we have other users, and we can see other users can only read that file. That is R. Okay, so after dividing this, so um when you divide this, it's easy to know the permissions on this file. So for instance, in our file, the owner can read and write, but cannot execute. The second part can only read, and the third part can only read. So whenever you want to change these rights, you have to consider three the three parts. I don't know if you guys understand. Are we together, guys?
Yes,
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 yes.
we're with you. We're with you,
Yeah,
bro.
because it feels like
You're all alone.
okay. So
We're we're following.
But you're not
you're following.
alone.
So
We are
guys, you're
plenty
following.
too.
All right.
Yeah.
So after breaking this down into the three parts, so maybe we wanted to give the owner the read, write, um, and execute file. So based on that, we can use now the chi mode. This is change mode to change these rights. Okay. So for instance, let me clear this bit. Sorry. So these are the permissions for my file, and we wanted the owner to have a number of permissions. So there are different ways we can use to change the permissions in a file. And one of the best ways you can use is by using um, this notation. I don't know how we call it. How do we call it's something
Symbolic.
notation? Is it symbolic notation
Which one are you referring to?
where we use the codes? So let's say we wanted to grant all permissions to the user and we use 777. What kind of
Mm, can you just go on. I'll confirm it and get back to you now.
okay, thank you. All right, so um, we use the notations to change the file permissions. So in my case, for instance, if I needed the owner of the file to have all the permissions, like to have the full access, such that they are able to read, write, and execute the file, it means I have to give them using the notation. I can grant them these permissions, and I think I'd prepared something about these notations. Just a moment. I think it's in my Excel. Yeah, we have these notations, right? So here I've divided. So let's say we are working on this file. Um, this is our file, and we said the first part, and we can see the permissions for these users. For this file, the owner of the file is able to read, write, but is unable to execute. So it means, let me just delete this so that we have a clear picture of what is going on. So the first thing, we divide the file into three parts: the owner, the group owner, and the user. So in our case, the owner is able to read, write, but is not able to execute. And the group owner, which is this part, can only read. So meaning this uh, group owner can't write.
I can.
Yes.
Sorry to
Hi.
interrupt. Yeah. So this one
Mhm.
is the symbolic mode. The one you're doing now, and the one you wanted
Okay.
to refer to is the absolute mode.
The absolute
Absolute mode.
mode.
Yeah, using
Okay.
numbers.
Using numbers.
Yeah, 7 and all of that. And using
All
the
right.
RWX or U plus X and all that. That's the symbolic.
Okay. So we are going to use these numbers to give these permissions. And it's very simple. The first thing, just divide it into three parts. And when now, um, if you want to give it the right permission, it means, so usually we use I don't know if you guys understand the binary notation, how it goes about, where 00, that's 0, then 01, it's 1, then you add 1, you get 10, it's 2, that way up to 7. I don't know if you guys are able to construct this table. It's a pretty simple table. So I use this to work on these notations. So for instance, where there's no access, it means this is a dash, this is a dash, this is a dash for the owner, or for all users. This is a dash, 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 dash. So wherever there's a dash, I just do my 0. So for instance, um, let me just start with the dashes so that just a moment. Just want to break down this table so that it's simple now to relate to the changes. So for instance, if the user has no access to this to our file, it means the user can't read, can't write, can't execute. So based on that, it's a dash. So a dash, it's 0. If they can't write, it's another 0 for dash. Sorry. And if they can't execute, it's another 0 for execution. So the total here, it gives me a 0. Okay. So if the owner, for instance, if the owner is able, has full access, it means they can write, they can execute, they can read the file. So that is read, they can write, and they can execute the file. Let me just use the small read, write, execute, execute. So because they can read, I give it a 1. They can write 1. Um, they can execute another 1. And let's say the group owner can only read the file. So that is read. That's a 1. They're not able to they're not able to write. Write means just modifying the file, deleting and stuff like that. So that's a 0 and that's a 0. So based on this, I can now convert them to uh, the decimal format. So when they have full access, that is 111, that is 7. Using this table, if you can just do the table, it's so easy to. So that's a 7, and 100, that's a 4. 100, that's a 4. And now that other users don't have any access to the file, they can't read, they can't do anything. That's a 000, that's a 000. So when I want to give them this, I want to change this rights such that the owner has the full access, the group owner can only read, and other users can't read, can't do anything to the file. So I'm going to do chmod, that's change mode, and then now give it the code that is 740, and then now the name of the file, and in our case it's test file. So I've already granted the right, I've already changed the rights. So to check, just to confirm if we have these changes, I'll go ahead and the ls/l, the name of the file, and you can see the changes. So initially the owner of the file was unable to execute the file, but now the owner has all these rights. The owner can read, they can read, they can write, and they can execute. Now the group owner can only read, and then now other users don't have control over the file. So using the code, it's easy to change and to play around with the permissions on a file. And this that doesn't apply only to a file. It also applies to the directory. So let's say these are the files and the directories in this folder. And I did ls. I want to see everything. So let's say I needed to work on this directory, test1. I needed to ensure that everyone has full access to this directory. So it means everyone will have 1111. So it means this is a 1, this is a 1, this is a 1, this is a 1, and this is a 1. I don't know if you guys are following.
Go ahead, Caleb. Go ahead, Caleb.
Okay, nice one.
Yes.
So,
Yes, we are.
so
Yes,
if,
we are.
all right, thank you. So if everyone has full access, and this is not something, and this is something we don't recommend granting everyone access to maybe a directory. But for the sake of illustration, we want everyone to have full access to our directory. So it means everyone can read, write, and execute. So it means it's 1111. And this notation, it's a 7 using this table. This is a 7, and this is also a 7. So when we go to our command, so this is what we will just feed. That is gmod 777 and the name of the directory, which is test 1. So when we go ahead and check the properties of this test 1, or the properties of everything in this directory, we realize now everything has changed for our directory. For those who missed it, the first D is just used to signify this is a directory. So we just ignore this part and focus on the nine parts. Where the first, you can see the directory owner has full access. The group owner, the same applies to other users. So all of them can have full access to this directory. Okay. I don't know if anyone has something to add about that part. I feel like I've covered pretty much the necessary parts about changing permissions to a file or directory. I don't know if anyone has a question or something they feel like they need to add on what I just explained. A point of correction, anything, guys. Maybe you guys have a question about
Okay, maybe a little bit of contribution. Do you mind,
sure.
Caleb? It's just a
Sure, go
cheat.
ahead.
It's like a cheat that they taught us back then in secondary school. That's getting
Uh-huh.
the absolute number now. Like on your right, this 770.
Uh-huh.
Like a quick way to get the seven. For instance, these three numbers 111. So on top
Uh-huh.
of them, just put 1, 1, 2, 4. One.
One, two.
The first one represents one.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 111 now on top. The first one represents one. That's the place of it, the value of the
Mm-hmm.
place. The second one, that's from your right now. From your right.
To my
From
right.
your right is one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean any of the 111 now. Let's just
Okay.
take the others for instance now.
All
So the
right.
first one on the right stands for
Mm-hmm.
one. The second one next to it to the left,
Mm-hmm.
that's two. Then
All right.
the next one is four.
That's 4.
You know, yeah. If you had more, it goes on like the 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and all that. It's
All
binary
right.
sheet. So if you had 1, 2 plus 4, it give you 7.
All
1
right.
plus 2 plus 4, that's 7.
Like
So you
this.
can try with any of them. It works perfectly. Like
That's
series,
4.
you get it. Let's say 1, 1, 0, 0 for instance on the table now that you have 4. If you look at
Mm-hmm.
it, 0. If the value
This is.
is if its value is off, that means it's 0. If it's off, it's 0. If it's on, then it takes that value.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So that means this
Yeah,
is
yeah, I
4.
understand. So this is 4, and this one
That's it.
is 2, and this is 1, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
it only takes the value when it's on. When it's off, it doesn't. It's 0.
All right. So,
0 and 1 is just on and off.
oh, I see.
Yeah, just a
So
quick
maybe,
cheat.
all right. So maybe for something like 5, it means it's 4 plus 1, meaning 2 is off, right?
So for 5, that would be 101 now. That
So
means 2 is off.
that would be,
Exactly.
yeah,
That
2
means
is
2 is
off
off.
because it's
Exactly.
1 plus 4. I
Exactly.
think that. So you just had 100 plus 1, which is 101.
Exactly.
101. I think that's a a cool way of going about this. Yeah,
Yes.
thanks for that tip. All right, meaning if so 1,000 would be 8, right? If I'm not wrong.
You mean the next one?
Yeah,
If
a
yes,
thousand
it's
would
the eight. Yes, no.
okay.
And after that, 16, 32, 64. If you had up to 8
All
bits,
right.
it
So
works.
let's say okay, so let's say I need 9. That would mean it's 8 plus 1. So
Exactly.
the others are off. So that would
Yeah.
be 1.
1001.
Okay, 0, 0. That is 1,000 plus 1. I think that's pretty much clear and very simple.
It's very quick, easy way to quickly figure
Oh, I
it
see.
out.
Yeah, thanks for the tip. So as long as you are able to work out this, I think you're pretty much okay with the conversions and working with this changing the permissions and everything. I don't know if anyone has a question about this before we go to the next command. Anyone with a question? All right. I think we can go ahead and check this one. This is changing ownership of a file directory. That will be the next part we'll be covering. So anyone maybe to tell us about changing ownership? Mhm. Just a moment, 'cause I made anyone to take us through change ownership, or you need to tell us something about ownership. Do we have people in this group? Let me check. Just a moment. All right. I see we have a lot of people here. So anyone who has any idea about change of ownership in a file?
Hey guys, can we speak up? He's asking a question. Do you have an idea what
Hmm.
CH1 does? If you don't, they say you do. If you do, just say you do. Just speak out. Speak up. Let's speak
And
up.
just speak out,
Let's
you
be
know.
proactive, please.
Judin, my man.
Yeah,
Hmm.
bro. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, good
Good
evening.
Yeah, good
evening.
evening.
Okay, guys. So anyone to tell us about change ownership? This second command. For those who just joined, we checked change mode and we've covered a number of parts about change mode. And so we are on the next command, which is change ownership. I don't know if there's anyone who can tell us about change of ownership or how we go about this command. Any suggestions? Guys, the floor is open. This change ownership, it just stands for, like the name suggests, it just stands for change of ownership. And like we said, the first thing about files or directories, uh, when we do this command, that is ls flag l, we are able to learn a number of things about the file. For instance, the first part shows us the permissions of that file. Um, I'm not sure about number 2. This one shows us the owner of that directory. In our case, PLD, this is a directory. So the owner of this directory is root. The group owner, no, the group associated with this directory is root again. Using this command, we can tell the owner of this file. So change ownership comes into play when we want to change the owner of this file. So let's say we want to change the owner of this file to let me see a group member. Um, let's say we want Chris to be the owner of the file. How do we go about this, guys? Maybe someone to help. We want Chris to be the owner of this directory. And remember, guys, change of this uh, change of ownership. It works for the file and for the directory. Can someone give us the syntax for changing the ownership of the file or directory? Anyone to help?
Um, Hi, Caleb.
Hi. Hi, Juliet.
I think it will be the command, the CHOWN, and
CHO.
then yeah, that chon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then since we are changing the owner of the file, it will be like you put like the new owner depending if it's a group or it can be a group or a particular person, right?
Okay.
So we put that and then we put the name of the file in which we want to change the owner. So it will be that one, the person you're giving the ownership to, and then the file name that
The
you're
new owner.
giving the person. Yeah, I think
Okay, so this
that's
is
what I
the
think.
owner. Then the name of the file.
Yes,
The name of the file.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You can correct me.
I think that's the syntax for changing ownership.
Oh.
But again, we have to remember. I think someone is talking from the background. Yes. So thank you, Juliet. This is the syntax for changing ownership. And usually, in most cases, we have to add this part. Sudo. That's because changing ownership, you have to change ownership when you're a super user. And so um, this part stands for super user do. So like in most cases when we want to change the owner, maybe you are not a super user and you want to change the owner, you have to include when we have time we'll check this super user and we have this super user do, these two commands. Let me just write them here. The sudo and this bit. So when you need to change ownership, the most important bit I'd say, this is the syntax. So depending if you're a user, you're a super user, you're just a normal user running this command, or you're a super user, it depends. That's when you can add this part. But um, this is the syntax for changing ownership of a file. So let's work with an example. I'll go ahead and clear this part. So let's say this is our file. Let me check. All right. Um, let's work with this test file. Okay. Let me check use of this file. All right. So we can see from the details, these are the permissions. This is the owner of the file. From these details, we can tell that the owner of this file is root. And so if you need to change, maybe let's say to a new owner, let's say we want to change to Juliet, for instance. This is what we are going to do. We are going to apply this syntax, that is change ownership, and the new owner, let's say Juliet is our owner, and then the file name. This is test file. This is the syntax. But there's something you also need to note that whenever you want to change to a new owner, that owner must exist. So in our case, Juliet does not exist, and I don't think this will go through. So we have first of all to create the user, and then now we can change ownership. Let me go ahead and press enter and see what we are getting. So it tells me invalid user. So meaning user Juliet does not exist. So before even we change ownership, you have to confirm that this user exists, and then now we can, well, if they don't exist, we have to create the user, and then we can go ahead and change ownership. And so to create user, we have to use this command user add. I think add user, user add, both of them work. So for instance, because Juliet is an invalid user, so we have to create user Juliet, and then after which we can now change ownership of this file. So let's go ahead and create our user called Juliet. Now we've created a user by the name Juliet. So the next part now because now this user exists, we can go ahead and change ownership from root to our user. So up arrow to the previous command. Now we can change ownership from the root to Juliet. So it's the command, the new user, and the file we want to change ownership. I'll go ahead and press enter. And to check, just to confirm the details of the file so that we can know the user, we use the same command, that is list, then long, and the file, which is test file. All right. And you can see now the file has changed. Initially, the owner of this file was root, but right now, Juliet is the owner of the file. Okay. And if you want to change, for instance, now we want to change from Juliet to root, because we are sure root is a user. We can just use the same syntax. That is change owner, and then the user, let's say root, and then the name of the file. All right. So to check the details of the file, I use the same command. Now we can see now our new user is root. Okay, guys. So it's pretty simple. Following this syntax, we can change the owner of the file. That is change ownership, the new owner, and the file name. I don't know if you guys have questions about this command. Anyone needs to add something about this? Any questions? Before you can go to the next part, which is change group. I don't know if you have a question about the same or point of clarification you guys need to make. I don't know if I should call names because it's pretty silent over here. I don't know. Guys, are you following?
Yeah, someone raised their hand.
Or someone raised their hand? Oh, okay. Let me check. I don't know.
Vivian.
So
Hello.
yes.
Okay, I have a question in the one for changing ownership. Can one change on a file ownership at the same time with the one for a group at once?
Group ownership and file ownership.
Yes, at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's possible to change both of them at the same time. So let's say let's check first of all the details of our file, which is test file, and we find that, just a moment. Yeah. All right, so this is the owner of the file and this is the group. I think it's possible to change the using one command. Anyone who has an idea how to go about this? We want to change the owner of this file and the group associated to this file.
That is ch own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's using the ch own command, but there's a tag. Can't remember exactly now. You have to use to change that.
And
It's possible.
is it possible? And what if we use the
Come again.
pipe, the pipe sign?
Right. Uh, let's try.
Like you want to use the pipe to give it double permission at the same time.
Yep. First of all, we give it a different owner, then pipe another command that changes the group.
Okay.
That's why we are in a PLD. We're all about trying new things. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I was suggesting because we haven't covered how to change the group, so I think we can cover how we can change the group, and then now after that, now we can go ahead and see if we can do both commands using the same line. How about that? Because we haven't covered how to change group, but it's basically the same syntax. Although now we'll be using the change group command, which is this one. Meaning before we change event to a group, we must add a group. And now if the group exists, that's when we can change to a new group.
There's
All
a
right.
handheld. Okay.
There's a hand.
Yeah.
Um,
Happiness.
Happiness,
13.
go ahead.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, as regards the change of ownership, I want to confirm, for instance, if I'm the owner of a file and then I am changing ownership to you, okay, can restrictions be added, like the read, write, and what else? So can I
Yeah.
say, okay, this new owner rather can only read the file and not write into it? Is it possible, or is it that because person is the owner of the file, person can do every other thing with the file?
Um, I'll suggest someone from cohort 14 who has been in this class to just give us a heads up on this particular question she asked,
Exactly.
just so we know we are in the same page. Yeah.
There's someone from cohort 14. You can just give us a suggestion, because we covered something about changing ownership and rights and everything. So based on what we've learned today, you can employ that on this question. So she said we first of all we change to a different owner, and then now that owner we change the permissions.
A hand is up.
Anyone? Okay. Please go ahead. Yes, Esther. Is it Esther who raised her hand? I don't think. I don't know why I keep missing those who raise hands. Anyone can just go ahead and answer this. She was asking if we change the user of the owner of the file, is it possible to change the rights of this new owner? It's possible. How do we go about this? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cinema's hand is up.
Okay, go ahead.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
I'm not sure if I'm right, but I think after you change the ownership rights to the new user, do you not use the do you not change the mode? Use the chi mode, sorry, to give permission Like if maybe you say you change mode and then the new user can only read and not write or execute.
All right. You guys agree with her? I think she's right. First of all, we can change the owner, and using T mode, now we can work on the rights. So let's say we are working on README file. This is our, we want to work on this file. We want to change the owner, and then we change the rights for this owner. So if I understand what she said, the first thing, let's first of all check the details of this file. So we can see from our file, these are the details. The owner of this README file can read, write, but can't execute. And the rest of the, that is the group owner and the other users can only read. So we need to change, we need to give this file a new owner, and then we play with the permissions. So the first thing, we can just give it the new owner. We had already created an Juliet as our owner. So we are going to change the owner of this file from root to Juliet. And so we are going to use the command change owner. And our new owner now is Juliet. And the file is readme. So if we do the up arrow, so we can check the details of the file, we can see we've already changed. So root is no longer the owner of this file, but the owner of this file is Juliet. So the next step is changing the right of this owner. So let's say I needed to ensure Juliet has full access to this file, but the rest of the group don't have any access to this file. They can't read, they can't write, they can't execute. How do we go about this? We need to change the rights of the owner of this file. Anyone? Any suggestion? We've already changed the owner from root to Juliet. So the next step is playing with the rights, the permissions. Anyone to help with this? I want to give Juliet full access to this file, but the rest don't have any access to the file. They can't read, they can't write, they can't do anything.
Yeah, happiness
The
hand
rest
is
of
up.
the members. Go ahead.
Okay. I think from where I joined the class, where you were like explaining the permission, and I know we have 111, and then we use the binary to calculate it, and then the owner gets the 7, right?
Mhm.
Then the group gets 5. I think some other one. So um for us to give the owner full access to the file, I think we would use chmod 7, then
7.
00 for the other, because you said we are not giving them any permissions, right? They are not write and execute, right?
All right. So
Okay.
name of the file. All right. Let's go ahead and press enter and see. So let's check the details of our file.
Ken, I'm sorry to call in.
Mhm.
I was just going to mention before she raised her hand that quite a number of people have actually joined and are still joining. A number of them
Mhm.
have joined not so long ago. So I don't know
Oh,
if you can, maybe not now, maybe after, whenever you can, maybe do a bit of recap as just for their sake, you know.
or to
Yeah, yeah.
or
So,
a quick revision on the parts they missed, right?
yes, yeah, from
Yeah,
the top.
makes a lot of sense. So I don't know
So,
how to go about this. Maybe we can do a quick revision. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
oh,
Because I
no, the
understand a
recording will
number
be
of
made
people.
available anyways, much later,
Mhm.
but I just felt for the ones that are here. Yeah, but please let me not interrupt what you were doing.
Okay, no problem. So she gave us the code to use, and she said we wanted to give the owner of the README file full access, and then the rest don't have any access to the file. And she used 700. So let's check the details of the file just to confirm. And we can see, I think everything is now is the right step, because we can see the owner of the file has full access. They can read, write, and execute, but the rest of the members, they can't do anything with the file. So it's just, you know, playing with the numbers, the modes. You guys, and this is what she used for this for this problem, because we wanted the owner of the file to have full access, but the rest of the team don't have access. And if they don't have access, full access, it means it's zero for all the parts. That's 0 0 0 0. So after that, the next bit, it's just now converting these ones using this table. If the group owner has no access, that's a 0. If the other users don't have access, it's a 0. So that's how I believe she came up with 700. So let's say if you wanted all others to have full access, it would be 1 1 1. The same would apply for the other groups. So that would be, it would be that way. That's a 7 7 7. Every member has full access to this file. So I think that's clear. For those who missed, I guess there will be a recording for this, just changing the file. But I don't think it's a complex step. It's just how you can be able to relate um, the properties, and then using this table, you can convert them and know who needs access, who doesn't need access. Okay, guys. I don't think there's a question about changing the permissions and changing ownership. Anyone who has a question or needs to add, the room is open. If you don't have additions, we can go ahead and sure, go ahead.
What if we give the new owner, permission to only read? We don't give them permission to execute or write on the file.
Okay. So you want this this is the owner. You want them to only read.
Only read.
And they shouldn't write and execute. Someone
Yes.
to help us with that. So our current owner, I guess this is the status of the file. That is, the owner can read, write, but the rest of the group, there's nothing they can do. So these are zeros, 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 zero. And she said you want the owner to only read.
Yes.
So meaning the rest, these are dashes. Someone to help. Anyone, any suggestion? Someone to take us through this problem? We want to change so that Juliet can only read the file. They can't write, they can't execute. How do
Oh,
we go about this?
okay. I have something to say.
Mhm.
Is
Okay.
that happening?
Yeah, it is.
All right. My hand is up.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, it is. If we are to give Juliet just the permission to write into the file, right?
Mhm.
And the group and others do not have any sort of permission whatsoever, to be 400.
It will be 400.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a 4 for the owner of the file and zeros for the rest of the
Yeah.
members.
Yeah.
Okay, why 400? Because I can see
Okay.
400. Mhm.
Yeah, it's 400 because uh um I want to use the binary to calculate it because we have read, write, and execute.
Mhm.
The execute is like 2 times 1 raised to power 0.
Okay. Execute.
Then yeah, then the write is two. Uh, it is 2 times 1 raised to power 1. Then the read is 2 times 1 raised to power 2. So if you do so if we calculate it, two times 1 will give us 2. 2 raised to power 2 is 4.
Mhm.
Then for the right, 2 times 1 will give us 2. Raised to power 1 is 2. Then for the execute, 2 times 1 would give us 2 as well, but because it's raised to power 0, it's 1.
All
So
right.
that's 4 for the honor. Why the others are 0?
Yeah, I think that's you're right. I think you used a different method, but it still makes a lot of sense. You said, maybe just to clarify on what you said, there's 400, 0, we have 4, 0, and 0. Okay, so you said this is for read,
Yeah.
write, and
Yes.
execute. Okay,
Yes.
because the other ones were 0, so we wanted to know why you gave it 400. And you said for read, it's 4.
Hmm.
That would be 4 times 2 raised to power
2 raised to power 2.
2
That's
raised to power.
4.
Mhm.
2, yeah, that's 4.
Okay, all right. I think you're using a different method, which works perfect. Um, Using our method, you're using the one using this table. That's a different method. The one I took you guys through 400. We built this table, and someone else had also showed us how to go about this table. That is 0, 1, then you add, it goes this way. So 400, that is 100. And you can see it's only read. The owner should only read the file. So the rest it's zeros. And when you convert this one, it gives you a 4. It gives you a 4 because we can see from at 100 we have 4. And because the rest can't do anything with the file, so it's a 0, 0, 0. Using this table, we can see 0, 0. And so we can go ahead and use the syntax that is gmod 400 and the name of the file, which is readme. And now we can go ahead and see the details just to confirm the changes have taken effect. And you can see now the owner of the file can only read the file. They can't execute, they can't write. Previously, they had full access to the file. Now after running this, the owner can only read the file. So using gmod, we can give different permission settings to our file just using change mode command. I think we've elaborated almost every bit about change mode, and there are different ways you can interpret this table just to get to arrive at the right code for every group, that is the owner group and other users. If there's I don't know if there's any addition or we should go ahead with change group. I don't know what you guys suggest. And then after
Uh,
uh-huh.
you haven't. We haven't talked about the other method that is symbolic. Or have you?
Okay. Yeah, we haven't talked about symbolic. I don't know if someone
Okay.
can take us through the symbolic, because I feel
Uh,
like yeah,
Go on, go on. Sorry.
yeah, because I feel like I'm not sure if symbolic was covered in the group, because I was told to cover the notation bit. So I'm
Oh,
not sure if yeah.
okay, that's fine then. Just go on, go on, go on.
Okay, let's go on. And we had already talked about changing ownership, and we are able to change ownership from root to Juliet. There's a time we changed the ownership of this file. The group. Okay, we've already talked about the change of. Okay, we've already talked about change of ownership, and we are able to change the ownership of this file from root to Juliet. So let's let's change back the ownership of this file to root, just for the sake of it. So we have change ownership, change of ownership, and then root, and then the name of the file. And using this command, up arrow to the previous command, we can see we've already changed the owner now. The owner is root. I think we've covered change ownership. This was just a recap of what we've done, the syntax we've used for change of ownership. Next will be we look at uh, changing the group. That's our next task. And just a reminder, using this command, we said we can, there are a number of properties we can check on this file. This is the owner of the file, and this is the group that is associated with this file. So our next step is to change the group that is associated with this file. And to change the group, the syntax for changing the group, let me divide my screen. Okay. I think the syntax is just related to the one we covered. So if you want to change the group associated with a file, we use the command change group, and then the new group. This will be the new group, and then the name of the file or directory. In our case, let's say we needed to change this group to maybe code tribe. We need code tribe to be this readme file to be associated with the code tribe group. So we'll just do change, sorry, this change group, the name of the new group. So let's say the group is called tribe. Now the name of the file. Want to change, we want this readme file to be associated with code tribe group and not root. So the name of file is readme. Now we can see we have an error. It says invalid group code tribe. And this simply means the group does not exist. So before even we change the group, we have to confirm that this group exists, or we have to create the group, and then now we can change it to that group. So we have a command for adding a group, and the command is add group. These commands, there's add user, add group, they're related. So they're interrelated if you guys have observed. And I think I had mentioned something about this. Yeah. So whenever we want to add a group, because we just noticed this is an invalid group called tribe. So we have to add this group. And so we use the add group command. So in our case, that would be add group, and then the name of our group be called tribe. And Let me check. There's an error here, and it says configuration use. All right, option to relax. Oh. Please enter username matching the regular. Okay, let me try this one.
I stepped out for just a second. What was the error for? What was the error?
So this is the error I'm getting when I try to add the group. It says please enter a valid username matching the regular expression configured. So we can use this flag. We can use force to force
What
this name.
about the naming convention? The naming convention you use for code tribe?
All right. Could this be about the naming convention? Okay. I think the name is okay. Change group. Let me try this.
It said invalid group code tribe.
Yeah, invalid group. This group does not exist. We haven't created the
Yes.
group. So we have to create it. And so to create the group, I used add group called tribe. And when I
All
use
right.
this
See,
command,
copy the from the change group code tribe readme. Copy from there down to the end and put on the income message for me.
all right.
Yes.
All right. So
Nice.
what if we do just a moment, what if you let me try this one. Add group. I'm not sure if this one is gonna work.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. It says the error message invalid
Mm-hmm.
group indicates there is no existing group in the system named
Exactly.
code tribe. To change the
Yeah.
group of the file, readme to.
Yeah, so we have to create this group, and then now we can change. We can now change the name of the group to code tribe. Add group. Please enter username matching the regular expression configured via. I don't know why it says this is a bad name. Okay, let's use Remy
This
Roman add group.
happiness.
Sorry, sir. While you were trying to add a user, I guess to use user add. So I think you should still follow that same method. Group
Oh,
add instead of add group. I guess that's why it's not
oh,
working. Let's just try it.
yeah. I think you're right. So instead of add group, you're going to do group add.
Group add, yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Let's try that and see. So group add. We're trying to add code tribe. Group
Or
add.
you do add group, force bad name. Add group, force bad name. After you try this.
Oh, it works.
Okay.
It
And I
worked?
can see it worked. For group add, it worked.
Okay.
Because I can see we
I'm sure
haven't
another
written.
another way around it should be add group double hyphen
Okay, let's add a
force
different.
bad name.
Let's yeah, exactly. Let's add a different name and say add group.
Add group a
And
single
now
word.
yes, now we can force and
Yeah,
try another name,
force.
maybe name
Yeah,
two.
hyphen, the hyphen there. Force bad name then before the
I can see we've that's on we first and so we have name 2. That one went through. We also have code tribe. So
Okay.
back to what we are supposed to do. That was to change the group for this for a readme file. These are the details for a readme file. We want to change this group to code tribe. And so we use the same syntax, which is change group and then the new group and then the name of the file. So in our case, that will be change group. The new group is called tribe. And then the name of the file, that's our readme file. So let's check the details, up arrow to the previous command. And you can see now our file, we have a group. This is the new group associated with our file. So if you're told maybe change the group to a different name, this is the syntax we use. But you have to ensure that group exists. If it doesn't exist, it will give you an error. I hope you are clear on that, guys. Maybe you guys can add something you have a question about changing group. And I'm learning a number of things about this command as well. Any additions about changing group?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So I observed there was an error before, and you corrected it. So was it as a result of
Mhm.
you using add group instead of group add?
Yes, it's a so there's something I learned about these commands because I'd tried. Actually, the reason why I was getting this error, it's because I used. You can see. Okay, let me go to the error. So I said add group, and the error was
Yeah.
please enter a username matching the regular expression via
Yeah.
blah 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 use. So this I used add group and I got this error.
Yeah.
So something I noted when you use add group, I don't know if I can do man add group. So there's a suggestion here. They said we can use force then now the name that gave us this problem. That is one of the ways we can go about this. Also, we can use group add. You remember when I was trying to add a new user, I used user add. So there are two ways you can go. You can either use
Yeah.
add group or group add. So in our case, when I use group add, it worked. So I think this I'm not sure about this, but I have a feeling this is dependent on the system. I'm not sure if this is right because I'd tried to use add user instead of user add and it gave me the same problem. So I'm going to use the same concept
Okay.
to try to add a new user. And I said maybe I need to add a new user Caleb. And I use add user Caleb.
Okay.
Okay, it gives me all right, new group, new user, add user only. So I have just a moment. The home directory does not belong to the user. Okay, I'm supposed to enter my password. Okay, no problem. I think this one went through. Hmm. Let me just clear this. I don't know if there's anyone who has a perfect answer for this, but I just realized when I do group add or user add, it works for me. But when I say add group, then we have all these errors. I don't know how to explain this. Maybe someone can clarify on this one.
Okay. Okay. I understand the point now that we can either use the group add or add group.
Mhm.
That was
Yeah.
my all right.
All right. So when it doesn't go through for add group, you can use force. I think if we can do man add group, I'm not sure if we can get.
Sorry, Caleb. Just like I mentioned before, the ad group. I'm sure the
Uh
name
huh.
code tribe didn't meet up with the naming convention, just
Okay.
like we mentioned earlier, because they said suggest that the group name code tribe may not meet the naming requirement for groups on the system,
All
which is
right.
why they had to use the force bad name option. Yeah, you have to force it in,
We
but
had to
it
force.
gets it got to meet the naming convention. So I don't know. Maybe the you have uppercase for the C and for the T. I was wondering maybe you try code tribe all in lowercase and see still try your code if it will go through.
Okay, let's try that and see. Add group
All right.
code tribe. Yeah, I see that one went through.
Yeah, so it's the uppercase then. It's the uppercase. It's all about bash, yeah.
All right. So if maybe I create a group and say maybe group as a random group. Let me try this one and see. Add group just to confirm it's the naming convention. This one has many cases. Yeah. So it's the naming convention. They all have to be lowercase, right?
Yes, yes. It's the
Okay.
it's the naming convention then. So
So,
at least everybody on this call should have this one in mind that the naming convention in adding group, yeah, matters.
all
So
right. Makes a
that's
lot
fine.
of. And if it's a bad name, you want to force that now. That's when you have to
Yes,
force,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
It applies to users as well, not just group. Yeah.
okay.
In
Also,
fact,
just to confirm.
yeah.
Sorry, go
No, I
ahead.
mean, even even when you're um just that's a new user that you're just configuring Ubuntu, it also
Hmm.
applies. You know. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I think we've expounded pretty much everything on add group. And there was someone who was asking if there's one command we can use so that we can change the the the, the file owner and the group which is associated with that file just by a single line of command. Anyone who has suggestions how to go about this? So let's say we are working on our readme file, and we needed to change the group of this file to root and the owner of this file to the group associated with this file to root, and the owner should be Juliet. We had already created Juliet. Do we have like a command we can use so we can change all of them at once? Someone had asked that question. Any suggestions? So we want to change the owner of our readme file to Juliet and the group associated with this file to root. How do we go about this? Any suggestions? Okay, so what if we use a pipe symbol? Do you think a pipe symbol can work? Hmm. Hello, guys.
Yeah,
Guys.
we with you.
Mm-hmm. So we are trying to. There's someone had raised a question earlier that they needed to change the ownership and the group of the file using a single command. And I was asking, are there ways we can go about this? So in our case, maybe we needed to change this README file so that,
Come again. You said ownership of what? The file and group at the same time
yeah, at the same time. How do we go about this? Using a
of
command
a single file or different file.
of a single file. Maybe, for instance, our README file, we want to change the owner of the file and the group at the same time.
So the file is in a group.
Yeah, this file, for let's take
Mhm.
a good example. This README file, the group that's associated with this is called tribe, and the owner is root. So I want to change this using a single command so that the group associated to this file is maybe root and a different owner. Is there a way we can write a command so that it takes care of everything? So now it has a different owner and a different group. Is it possible, guys? Okay, so I suggested we can use the pipe symbol so that you work on the first part, then work on the next part. I don't know if that one can work, but we can try and see if that one is going to work. Do you have any suggestion about how to go about this? Guys are so quiet in here. I don't know. Are you guys following?
Yes, please.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
I'm seeing an
Okay.
output here. It says
Mm-hmm.
to set the file permission to read and write for the owner of the group and set the group
Mm-hmm.
permission to write.
There is a way.
Is that what you want?
Yes.
Or they said you can separate it with a comma. Well,
Um.
I don't think I got the question quite clear. It said to set
So
the file permission to read and write for the owner and read only for the group and others.
not
Is
not
that
the
what you're trying to
permission.
do?
No. No.
To do it. If you remember,
We want. Okay. So right now, okay, we are working on this README file, and I want to change the owner of this README file and the group associated with this README file using one command. Okay, it's not about the permissions. Now we want to change the owner and the group. The permission can just remain the way they are, but now we want to change the owner and the group associated with this file. Is there a command we can use to work on those two steps? So let me try using a
Okay.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I see. I've seen one.
Uh-huh.
So they said you can change the
man,
group
I know
ownership
those
of a
will get.
file
Yeah, group ownership.
and the group of a directory in a single line of code.
Um, yeah,
Is that
not
what?
really the direct. We are talking about the file. We want to change the
Yeah,
owner
you
of
can
this file
change the group ownership of a
and the group.
file.
And it grow.
Yeah, we can change the group ownership. Sure. We can also change the owner of the file, right?
Mhm.
But now I want a single command that does all of that.
So the
Someone had asked
command,
this question before.
yeah, the command is ch on. You're
Mhm.
going to use ch on, but there's a tag you use with it that I don't remember. Can we go
Hyphen
on? Let me
R,
try and
hyphen
check.
R.
We'll come back to it.
So maybe we can
Should
research
be
about
something like
that.
a hyphen R.
I'll check it up and then we can just move
Okay.
on to something else. Then I'll
Okay.
get back
Let's
to it.
just Okay. Because of time, we can just move on to something else. But
Have we been in
this
the
is
call
something we
for?
can
Oh,
research about.
Let me see. Maybe try this. Check the income message.
Mhm.
So they say
All right.
sudo change owner, new owner to new group, path to directory.
Yeah.
Change owner, new owner.
Change owner,
Yes.
sudo change owner, hyphen R, capital letter R.
All right.
Like
Yes.
captain, after the change owner, you do a hyphen R, an uppercase R.
Yeah. R
Then
for
new owner,
recursive. Yeah. Go on.
Hyphen
yeah,
R, new
yes.
owner,
Now the new owner with a column, new group.
colon, new group.
Can you
So
hear
a
me?
group. Yeah, I can hear you.
So new owner,
So the
column,
new
new
owner,
group.
new group. So let's press enter and see.
Then the path,
All right.
path to the directory or path to the file, whatever.
All right, sure. Okay. So
Did it work?
let's check if it worked. Yes, I can see it worked because previously our README
Okay.
file, the
Oh,
owner was
good.
root and the group was code tribe. And right now we have a new owner by Juliet and the new group, which is root. So I think it worked. So that was sudo change ownership. I think I have to note this one down.
So
Mhm.
for this, they said the new owner is the new owner of the file or the directory, and new
It's the
group
owner
is
of
the
the
new
file.
group.
We are working
Yes,
on
yes,
the file.
yes. Now the column in between the
Hmm.
two, the owner and the group
Hmm.
name separates the two values. So that's actually what
Okay.
separates the two value. Then the hyphen R option applies the change recursively to all the
Okay.
files and directory within the specific directory. Since we're
Or
actually
within.
changing that
Hmm.
full part. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the name of the file name. So
So please, you said the hyphen R is what again?
Recursive. Recursive, that's like everything going down. Everything from where you had all the way down. That's what recursive means.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. Okay.
okay.
Can I ask how? When do you know when to use the R, the hyphen R?
Okay. So anyone to help with that question? Because I just learned about the hyphen R. I have to research about it. So when do we use hyphen R?
Yeah, the hyphen R, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, the hyphen R option is used with several commands. You get? So for example, if you want to change the permission of a directory and all of its
Mhm.
subdirectories and files, I don't know
Mhm.
if you're getting me. If
Yeah.
you want to change everything inside at the same time,
Okay.
that's when you use that hyphen R.
Okay. So meaning in this function, because we are just working on our README file, we don't need to use hyphen R, right? Because we are just changing. We are working on this file.
Okay.
So
See,
so does
another thing
that
is,
mean? Uh-huh.
sorry, Mr. Caleb. Another thing is, you don't just use the hyphen R at all point. We only use it if we want to change a huge number, like we have a more than like enough files inside that particular directory you want to change. Then that's
All
when you
right.
can use the hyphen R.
All right. So in our
Yeah.
case, because we were working only on the README file, so no need of using hyphen R, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
All
I'm
right.
not
So
sure it's actually there. So you can try again now without the hyphen R.
let me
You get?
change group to code tribe. Code tribe. And then the owner should be root. Should be root. Let's see how this one goes. All right. Okay. So our README file, I can see the owner is root. and the group is called tribe. I think
Yeah,
it
it
worked.
worked.
It
It
worked.
worked. It worked. It
Okay.
worked. See, that's all
Um,
about the PLD. You got to try different things
yeah,
at the end.
exactly. All right.
We
So
have about 17, less than 17 minutes.
less than 17 minutes to go. Okay. So I just learned something here that -r, it's just when you want to work on the entire directory. Maybe it's a number of files in that directory, you can go ahead. But if you want to be specific about a file, there's no need for -r. That's pretty much clear. So I think we've covered there's gmod, there'sgon, change group. We've also I don't think we've covered this one su, but these ones are used for these functions. So su, this is switch user, if I'm not wrong. So whenever you need to change to switch to a different user. So for instance, in our case, let me clear this. We have we had created a user by the name Juliet, and we also have our user. This is root. This is our user. So whenever we want to switch to a different user, that's when we use su. And before even we switch, there are commands we can use to just to know the current user. There's who, is it who am I? Check the current user. And here the current user is used. So whenever I want to switch to a different user, we had created a user by the name Juliet. So if I want to switch to user Juliet, I will do su, then Juliet. Yes, and you can see I've switched. This was root at blah 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 blah, and now it's Juliet. I can use who am I to check the current user, and it gives me Juliet. So as you switch user just from the name, we can use this to switch from a user to a different user. Sudo, this command is used. There's some commands which require administrative privileges. So for instance, let me for instance, when we want to create a new user, remember in my current uh, in this in my current session, the active user is Juliet. Using who am I? Juliet. So Juliet, this is a user we just created. This user doesn't have privileges. For instance, I'm sure Juliet can't create a new user. So let's take for example, we needed to create another user. So maybe let's add a user. Let's say user add Emmanuel, the Emma, a user by the name Emma. You can see I'm creating Emma. Juliet is creating this user Emma, and when it says access has been denied, it's because this user of mine doesn't have privileges. And so this is the part where the sudo command comes in. So as Juliet, I can use the sudo command and this user Emma, and so sudo command, from the word sudo, is super user do, like it's like take these privileges and create this user. And so often it will require us to input the password, the sudo password. I don't remember if we had created the password for Juliet. Let me check. I don't think I have the password. Let me try this and see. All right. Let me try something different and see. All right. So I can't quite recall the password I used for Juliet. But basically, I was trying to drive the point that sudo is just used to give users privileges, administrative privileges, so that they can go ahead and execute maybe a certain command. Like for instance, user add, we had to use sudo so that we could grant it permission to create that user. Just using user add and I'm Juliet, it can't, the permission is denied. So you have to give it the privileges. So that's when the sudo command comes into place. So you also realize root, because when we switch to a different, let's switch to root. Right. So I really need to know the password I used for Juliet. Just a moment. Failure. Juliet. Okay. I can't quite recall the password I used for this user. So I'll need to reset this password. Just a moment. How do I reset this? Oh. Juliet. So I can't quite recall the password I used for Juliet. I'll have to reset that password. How do
What's this error? What's the error we're getting?
So I'm trying to switch to a different user from Juliet. And obviously I have to input the password for Juliet. But because I've forgotten the password I used for Juliet, I'll have to reset that password. I don't think there's another way to go about this. I want to return to root because the current user is Juliet. I want
Try sudo su.
no.
Yeah, it should ask you for the root password. Su.
The root. Okay.
Sudo su.
All right. Let me clear this. Sudo su. Just a
Sudo
moment.
space su. Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
sudo
so that means
password for
Juliet is the
Juliet.
root then.
It's still the password for Juliet.
Oh.
Because I have the root password.
That means Juliet
I have,
is the root, or it's one of the root um, main super users then.
let me check if this one will go
I
through.
bet you give it to them as assignment this time around. Wait. Juliet, if Juliet is a super user, that means try
No,
your own system password.
Juliet
Try
is
your
not the super user. Super user is root. Juliet, we just created Juliet.
Did you use
We
password
created
to create
Juliet
Juliet?
earlier. I used the password, but I can't recall. So
Oh,
I have to reset this password. There's no other way. I think that's something we can sleep on. We can sleep on this one.
it's all right. It's all right.
How we can
I bet we
reset our
should start.
password because
We should
mhm,
round it up here. We should round it
yeah,
up here.
because yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe we can research about how you can reset a password for a user because this happens all the time. We
Yeah.
can forget a
Yeah,
password for a user.
code 14. You've had it.
Hmm.
You. Wait. This is called
Hmm.
14, 14 class. I can't even. I'm not sure I had any lady talk. Okay, yeah, I had some. I had some. So
Yeah,
this is an assignment for us. You check
hmm,
how to research on how to reset password for a user because it's obvious every user might at some point lose their password.
yeah,
So
very true.
make a research on how to reset your password and drop it in the group there. We see
Yeah, sure.
how we will do yours. and a little recap on the whole session today on shell permission. What did you guys talk about?
So these are the
Uh,
command.
okay. Shell permission to determine who can access and modify files and directories, and to what
Exactly.
extent. Yeah. Okay. And you guys touched octal notation.
Yeah, we touched on octal
Okay.
notation.
Yeah, octal
So I
notation.
think we learned about the octal
Okay.
notation.
And I think I can say octal notation, more of an expressive way, expressing file permission. You know,
Exactly.
each digit
File
in the
director
octal
permission.
notation represents a different set of permission. And
Yeah, yeah,
the
sure.
first digit represent the owner's permission, second digit represent the group's permission, and the third digit represent other permissions.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
And the 8 digits can have a volume from 0 to 7,
Sure.
and where 0 represents no permission, 4
Mm-hmm.
represents read permission, 2 represents write permission. Yeah, you guys will make sure to watch the videos later. Mr. Caleb, you can stop recording at this point
I
since this
think
is just a recap.
I think
And
someone else was recording. I wasn't recording.
okay,
Someone
okay.
else was recording the group.
So, and on how to calculate octal notations, you do ownership,
Mm-hmm.
owner permission, which is for write permission and execute permission. Four,
Yeah,
two,
sure.
one. Yeah. Then for changing file ownership and group, use the ch own and chgrp. Ch own change ownership, own short form for ownership, and chgrp for group.
Mm-hmm.
The chown command changes the owner of a file or directory.
Yeah.
You get that? The owner of a file or directory. While the chgrp command changes the group, just as the name
Yeah.
implies. Chgrp, chown.
Yes.
So, and to change the owner of a group or a file, you need to have appropriate permissions to do that. You
Exactly.
get, which is what we're researching. We're doing all those researches on how we can actually give. I'm sure Mr. Caleb did a good job on that. Then there are still other ones we didn't touch, but as you read on, you get to understand most of these things. We still have special permissions, all those set UID, set guide, sticky bit. But I'm sure it's still early for you guys. So I think that should be it for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll drop a feedback form in the call message and in the group too. Alfred, hold on, I'm coming. I said Alfred, Ambrose, hold on, and we'll do. Anyway, over to you, Mr. Caleb.
Okay. So yeah, if there's no, if I don't know if there's someone who has an addition or question before we can call it a day. Anyone with an addition question?
Yeah, this can be overwhelming at this initial stage, but as time goes on, you see where you implement all these commands you've been hearing today. You see where
Yes.
you make use of them. Just like their first project on Shell, they're talking about commands to list directory, to change to this particular directory, to do this and that. And I'm sure if you, anyway, we'll drop the first. uh, We saw Mr. Samuel dropped the first the part one. Okay, this will be the part two. Make sure to just go through the video. It's not even up to an hour if you look at it very well. Although it's an hour and 30 minutes or 18 minutes, I don't know, but go through the video. You understand all these things. They did some part of the explanation on shell permissions there, and after you see that one, you see this one too, you understand the whole thing. So, and
Yeah, sure.
make sure to subscribe to our YouTube and Telegram. Code Tribe. Let me get the link. Let me get the link. Code Tribe, and make sure to invite others too. It is very necessary.
Mhm.
It's very necessary you invite others to gatherings like this so they also learn. I don't know. Where is our group link? Code Tribe. Okay, incoming. Control C. All right, YouTube.
Mhm.
YouTube link. Code Tribe. Then let me get the second YouTube link for Top Man, our main man. Okay, this is the second link. Yeah, I think that should do for now. And make sure to check the general group link if you're joining us for the first time. Make sure to check the general group link. We normally drop announcement on the general group link. We notice some of us are
Okay.
not that are not even in the normal other groups, and they're in the general group link, and some are in some group and not in the general group link. Make sure to join the general group link to get messages, some info that might not reach your particular group. But we'll try our best to do to make sure it gets to you guys.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Caleb.
Okay.
Don't mind
Thanks,
me.
guys. And that's a wrap
Your
for me. Thank you.
yeah,
Till
that's
next
a wrap.
time.
Yeah. Good night, guys.